Alright, Chef Buck here, and today I'm going to cook up an asparagus curry. But first I'm going to take off this hat because it's summertime and it's hot in this kitchen. I don't have air conditioning, and even a paper hat's too much. Now I got a bunch of asparagus here, and I've already washed it, and it's thin. I like using slender stalks of asparagus, because the big, sometimes you go to the store and they're like the size of a nickel, and that's too big because they get very woody. So I like them nice and thin, and you see there's still a lot of moisture in them. Sometimes you'll pick up asparagus and they'll be very wrinkly. It'll look like your grandma's fingers, or even my fingers, now that I'm getting up in years. But you don't want wrinkly skin. You want them slender, as thin as you can get. And you want the tips to be, sometimes the tips will get black and very muddy looking. Because they're going bad. They've been wet and they've been sitting around for too long, and the ends, they darken up and get soggy. You don't want them like that there. So get some nice green asparagus that has a high water content, so it's not all wrinkly. And then you just take and you get near the bottom of it and just boom, snap it. And then where it snaps off, that'll be where it's the most tender from here on up. And then the bottom part, you can build a Lincoln log house with that. I don't care what you do with it. Boom, but it's not going in my dish. So I'm just going to snap off the ends of my asparagus. Oops, see, that one's bending, so I'll go up a little bit higher and snap it up there. Because that means, it's too much, too much. Forget that piece. Alright, so now I've snapped off the ends of my asparagus. And I'm going to go ahead and cut it into some smaller pieces. And I'm going to cut off the spears first. So I'm going to have some longer ends right here, but I want to leave the spears intact. Because those are already the tenderest part of the asparagus, and they'll fall apart more easily in the skillet. And then the stems I will cut into slightly smaller pieces. So now our asparagus is ready, and we'll go ahead and cook up our dish. Alrighty, so I got my skillet on medium heat. And I'm going to throw in a little bit of oil. I'm using coconut oil. Boom, but use whatever kind of oil you like. And for this recipe, I'm going to use a pre-mixed curry. A lot of times I'll make a curry dish and I'll throw in a bunch of coriander and chili powder and turmeric and everything. And then folks will say, you didn't put any curry in there. But curry is just a combination of spices, So this is just already a pre-mixed combinations of spices. Like this one has turmeric, chili, coriander. It has cumin seeds, ground cumin seeds already in it. It's got some cinnamon and clove. You can get some curries that are hotter or more mild than others. I've got this one right here. This is a milder curry. You can see it's a different color. But I like to keep, I like to make my own curries. Throw the individual ingredients in there. And you can add, like I could add more chili powder to this if I wanted to. But if you're going to use pre-mixed curries, have a number of different mixtures around. Because you don't want to use the same curry spice in all your dishes, because then all your dishes will kind of taste the same. But we got our oil nice and hot. So I'm going to go ahead and throw in some fennel seeds. Quite a few fennel seeds. I like a lot of seeds when I'm doing Indian cooking. I got some cumin seeds right here. I'm going to throw in a lot of those. Boom. Stir that around. Get that in the oil, and it should start cooking right away and sizzling right away. But you don't want it too hot. I'm going to throw in some garlic. I probably got about half a clove right there. But do garlic to taste. All this is to taste. I got some minced up ginger, some seeds, ginger and garlic. That's how a lot of Indian dishes start. And using seeds really gives it a very authentic Indian flavor. I'm going to throw about a half an onion in here. And I'm going to let this stuff cook up for about 2 minutes, soften up. Get a little bit of color on it. Alright, so this has been going for a couple of minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and add some spices in here, some seasoning. I got my my curry, and boom. So I got about tablespoon and a half. But you know, you can definitely use more or less. And sometimes I'll put a jalapeno pepper in here, or any kind of hot pepper. I'll just chop that up and put it in here. But since my chana masala that I'm going to be eating with this is already pretty spicy, I'm going to kind of go ahead and leave a pepper out of this here. Now I'm going to add my tomato. And I like to use fresh tomato for this dish. So I don't want to use canned tomatoes and have that canned tomato taste. Like, I love using canned tomatoes in Indian dishes, but usually it's an Indian dish that I'm going to cook for a while. Since I'm not cooking this dish long at all, using some cherry tomatoes, just got them sliced in half. Alrighty, get it stirred up really well. And I'm going to go ahead and throw some salt in here now that I got my tomatoes in here. Just salt it to taste. We're just going to let this go for just a couple more minutes. You know, start to soften those tomatoes up, and then I'm going to add a little bit of water in here before I put my asparagus in. Not a whole lot, just about a cup. So then we let our water come up to a boil, you know, a nice little bubble. And then I'm going to reduce the heat back down to medium after I've got it bubbling. And now I'm going to add in my asparagus. Alrighty, boom. Go ahead and stir your asparagus in here. So now we just want our asparagus to soften up and get to the texture that you like it. You know, like I said, I don't like mine overcooked. And I'm only going to cook my asparagus. I'm only going to cook this for about 3 or 4 minutes. Because I don't want it to be overly soggy. You know, I don't want a big old soggy asparagus mess. You know, I want it to have a nice texture. It's going to be very fresh. Alrighty, it's been going for about 3 minutes. So I'm almost there. Let me try one of these longer pieces here. It's getting very close. Going to give it 1 more minute. Alrighty, that's it. Boom. It's been going for almost 4 minutes. You know, it's still got a lot of texture. It's going to have so much flavor, you know, because of all that ginger and garlic and because of those seeds that we put in there. But that's all there is to it. And there you have it. A super quick, super fresh asparagus curry. It's going to grow great with my leftover Indian dishes. So go ahead and give this recipe a try and let me know what you think. If you want to print the recipe, you know, I've got it written down below in the description, but you can also go to myfoodchannel.com and print this out if you like. Go to myfoodchannel.com. You can print all of my recipes there. You know, I got quite a few Indian recipes. I love cooking Indian food at home. It's so easy to do. Just get you some basic Indian seasonings, you know, basic ingredients or some pre-mixed curries. Definitely some seeds, you know, get you some cumin seeds. And fennel seeds, you can use them in all kinds of dishes. You know, get you some asafoetida if you get the chance. But Indian food, so easy to make at home. Boom, you saw how quick and easy that was, you know. All Indian cooking is super easy. Cooking in general is easy. So I eat out a lot, so I can't I can't preach. But you know, we cook a lot at home too. And the things that you make at home, they're just always better than the stuff you get out. And it's cheaper. It's more economical. It's more fun. Blah, blah, blah. Thanks for watching. You know, thumbs it up. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. And I appreciate you checking this recipe and the others out. And I will talk to you in the future.